Hey, how's it going everybody? alecandstuff here. So, we are just a mere couple of days away from the launch of Nintendo's next home console, portable, handheld, I don't really know what to call it at this point. Whatever. Point being is that the Nintendo Switch is launching very soon and I am beyond excited. Of course, there are plenty of reasons as to why that might be, but if there's one thing that's got me the most excited about March the 3rd, it has got to be... The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, oh my god! Yes, not only are we getting an entirely new Nintendo system, we are also getting a brand spanking new Zelda adventure on the same day. Wow! Not just any Zelda game though, as Breath of the Wild is looking to set itself apart from its predecessors by doing a wide variety of things that break the conventions of what it means to be a Zelda game. Goodness gracious, I need that game in my life so badly. You know, as hyped as I am for Breath of the Wild, I think it's also important that we don't forget how great of a series Zelda is as a whole. So, that's why for today's video we are going to be talking about some of our favorite games of Zelda's past. And since we all know that it's dangerous to go alone, I brought on my good buddy Elijah, aka Dolphin Phobia, to help me out with today's video. Say hi, Elijah.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Alright, and with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with, in no particular order, our favorite Zelda games of all time.
Since Breath of the Wild isn't quite out yet, we don't have it on this list. So the first game I want to talk about is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. This game just had an overall theme of urgency, as the feeling of impending doom just ruled throughout the world. Besides the creepy and eerie vibe that it gave off, this game had some really cool mechanics. Whenever Link would put on a new mask, he gains a new ability, which made this sequel to Ocarina of Time feel completely fresh, even if there were some reused assets. So this game was just extremely exciting to me. Plus, that moon was absolutely terrifying.
My first pick is going to go to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time is one of those games that will easily go down in history as a timeless classic, and rightfully so. Arguably the most memorable entry in the franchise, Ocarina of Time reigns supreme as the perfect example of a Zelda game. Now, I'd be lying if I said that I didn't spend many nights staying up past my bedtime just to play more of this game. Oh, and Mom, if you're watching this, I meant I was doing homework. Yeah, homework. A variety of dungeons, unique enemy types, and quite a few fun and interesting items all become part of what makes Ocarina of Time the quintessential Zelda game.
Nintendo has a tendency to make great games that let players experience worlds that they may have never experienced prior. The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker takes us to the sea, letting players travel island to island. But what was really revolutionary for this entry is the new art style that The Legend of Zelda took on. I mean, look at those cat eyes. But this cel-shaded and more cartoonish approach made the world seem vibrant and so alive, with an amazing soundtrack that added a lot of ambiance to this game. And of course, we cannot forget the amazing story and the great characters that were just really fun and entertaining to me. Plus, that led to Toon Link being added into Smash Bros, and I love that character. So there's that.
Quite possibly my favorite Zelda game to date, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess took a lot of fans by surprise because of how much of a darker tone and environment this game has compared to its predecessors. Despite the doom and gloom atmosphere, Twilight Princess brings back some of my happiest memories of playing a Zelda game. When the original game first released alongside the Wii in 2006, motion controls were an entirely new concept in the realm of video games, and being able to control Link in such a refined and personal way, it felt great. Not to mention the game on its own is just incredible. The environments, the dark and grotesque look of the Twilight creatures that inhabit the world, as well as the game's amazing soundtrack. It all comes together to paint the near perfect picture that is a Hyrule bathed in twilight.
Back in the 90s, the Legend of Zelda franchise hadn't had nearly as established of a track record as it does today. It had one pretty good game and one game that was sort of debatable. And then, The Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past came out for the Super Nintendo, and it was clear The Legend of Zelda would become a mega franchise. The game did away with the unpopular side-scrolling from Zelda 2, and was one of the first games in the series to have a really detailed story. It even introduced the Master Sword for the very first time. I love the colors and the feel and the just general vibe that this game comes off, and it's a game that I'll pick up every once in a while just to play a little bit and experience it a second time. And one more thing that no one ever talks about this game, Link legitimately had pink hair in the game. I know it wasn't in any of the promotional art, but he straight up has pink hair. I know it was a technical issue, like they couldn't get the right color, but I just think that's really awesome, and I would love to see pink-haired Link again, just because I think it's cool. Alright, I'll stop now.
A game that has probably seen as much praise as it has criticism, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword still manages to hold a special place in my heart. It almost seems like more than a coincidence that Skyward Sword first launched on Zelda's 25th anniversary, as it practically serves as a commemoration for the franchise as a whole. There's a slight sense of familiarity sprinkled throughout the game's entirety as it pulls several elements and ideas from past games that makes Skyward Sword feel like the perfect mix of old and new. One such example is the game's soundtrack. Sure, I'll admit that it is a trip hearing older pieces like the Fairy Fountain theme being performed by a full orchestra, but it's also just as incredible hearing all of the new arrangements that this game has to offer. Regardless of one's feelings towards Skyward Sword, I'm confident that this is a game that future Zelda titles will draw inspiration from for years to come. You know, now that I think about it, Breath of the Wild does seem like it was heavily influenced by this game. And there you have it. Those are our picks for some of our favorite Zelda games of all time. And just think that we are this close to another grand adventure in the Zelda universe. Of course, I also want to thank my good friend Elijah, aka Dolphin Phobia, for joining me for today's video. Say Elijah, why don't you tell us all about that super awesome video we did over on your channel?
Over on my channel, we did 23 The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild facts you need to know before the game comes out. So if you like Zelda and or Breath of the Wild and or me knocking over the stuff off my desk while I'm talking, you can check out my video that I did with alecandstuff. Cool.
I'll leave a link in the description below where you can go check out his channel where he does a lot of cool stuff like top 10s, as well as a variety of other Nintendo related content. And with all that said, that's going to do it for today's video, but before I leave, there's just one thing left to say, and that is, of course, as always, I'm alecandstuff, and I will see you all again real soon. Bye!